Hello and welcome to this instalment of Talkin Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we're looking at the rear deck kit, spare wheel cover and a boot trunk liner kit for the Austin Healey BN6 and BN7 models. Also referred to as the 106 two-seater, that was the BN6, and the 3000 Mark 1 and Mark 2 two-seater, that was the BN7. What we've got here is a few kits all in the same video. So at the front here we have the rear deck kit. You also had the battery box leather tabs there. Then you had the spare wheel cover, and then you have the boot trunk liner kit at the back there. And I've combined them in this video because they all kind of follow on from one another. Effectively, if your rear deck going backwards into the car, into the boot trunk area. I've also done a video showcasing a couple of these items going forward into the car, where we've showcased the carpets alongside them as well in the main cockpit cabin area. So be sure to check that out, which will be linked at the end of this video. But then worth spending a bit of time going over the other videos on my YouTube channel and the playlist, because I've gone into detail on some of these kits on an independent level, also showcasing different materials that we can offer as well as colours. So be sure to check those out, some of which will be linked at the end of this one. But yeah, effectively what we've got here is 4 kits in the same video. So rear deck kit, the tabs, spare wheel cover, boot trunk liner kit. And I want to go over each part semi-individually and how they interact with one another. We're going to be covering what this particular kit is versus the factory original specifications on things. So let's dive on in. Just to reference in the book, this is what we're talking about here. So this is the rear deck kit. It's directly behind the seats. It had the batteries stored underneath there, and the flap came up. Let me just get to that page. There you are. So you've got the batteries. On the 2-seaters, the batteries were in the rear deck area. On the 4-seaters, they were commonly in the boot trunk area. So batteries here, under this flap here, which is what these leather tabs were for, was to hold those down in place. But the rear deck basically spanned this whole sort of shelf area behind the seat, for lack of a better description, on there. And then the spare wheel cover sat on top of that shelf rear deck area, and then the spare wheel semi went into the boot trunk area, which is what you can see here. So yeah, that's what we're covering there. Now let's talk about factory original specifications. So the rear deck kit was often left the factory or did leave the factory in ribbed Armourcord material, which is basically a PVC ribbed plastic with a felt backing to it. It's this material here. This is in black, so you can see the ribs to it there. So it's effectively a plastic coated with a rib pattern to it and a felt backing to it. So that was originally what they left in. They did leave in different colours. This is obviously just black, which we obviously can supply. Now we can then offer upgrade options in carpets. And with carpet, you have 3 different versions of carpet. You have nylon, Karvel and wool. This particular version here has actually been done in the upgraded wool option, which is our most premium carpet. And the customer has specifically gone for a full interior, and he's upgraded everything. So his interior trim panels, everything's in leather. Seats, everything's in leather. There's no vinyl on them whatsoever. Everything's leather on the seats and panels. And so he's upgraded the carpets of the main actual cockpit cabin area to wool, and then he's followed that trend on using wool for the rear deck area and also for the boot trunk area, as well as the spare wheel cover. So yes, originally the rear deck was this ribbed Armourcord material with a couple of bits of vinyl on them. The leather tab hold down straps, they were always leather, so bear that in mind. Then the boot trunk area was also a ribbed Armourcord material there. Now commonly it was black as per this, but some cars we've seen had a coloured version of that, so we can offer that as well. But again, you can upgrade this to any of the 3 carpet options I've just mentioned there, so bear that in mind as well. When it comes to the spare wheel cover, there are actually 2 different versions of it in terms of materials from the factory. You had an all vinyl version, so literally everything was vinyl on it, and then you had a combination of carpet and vinyl on there as well, which is actually what this one is here. You can just see the carpet, but I will turn it over and you'll see the vinyl on that in a second. But effectively, they were the 2 main options. You had one that was a complete vinyl version, and then you had another that combined vinyl and carpets. When they used carpet originally, Healey's most often left with Karvel, which is the ribbed carpet material. You can see the rib there with a Hessian bracket on it like that. So we can supply all these options here, and do talk to us if you want, obviously, to get some physical samples, which we do strongly recommend there. So that's how they left the factory. But like I say, this kit has been done to an upgrade level. So this bit's been done in wool carpet. The spare wheel cover has been done in wool carpet with vinyl elements to it. And then the boot trunk liner area has been done in wool as well. So let's start at the very front here with the rear deck kit. It's effectively the main piece here, which is obviously the main surround here. And then you had this panel here, which this piece here that covers the panel that hinged up to reveal the battery box area there. Now, obviously, these bits would normally be in the ribbed Armourcord material originally from the factory, but they've been done in carpet. This piece gets edging all the way around it, whereas this piece actually gets some material tabs sewn onto the sides of them. Obviously, standardly, we just do them in vinyl, but because this customer's actually gone for a leather upgrade kit, we've actually done these bits in leather as well. And the reason you get leather tabs on there as opposed to, material tabs on there as opposed to binding is because they actually get trimmed onto the panel itself. So you get wrapped around. If I get back to that picture there, you can see it actually trims around the edge of it. So when everything is said and done, it looks like it's actually edged, but it's not. So it gives the appearance of binding, but it's not. It's the material wrapped around tightly and trimmed on. So you get that piece as well there. Then you also get some loose pieces of material. You get this archway piece here, which I've just semi-put underneath there because that's the actual position of it in the car. So that literally lines the almost the bodywork element of that opening there. And then you also get this long strip of material here. Again, we've done this one in leather, but standardly it would be in vinyl, which is literally this strip that goes down just above the lower bulkhead carpet, effectively from side to side on the car there. So you get that piece as well. For obviously leather upgrade options, we do skive any applicable materials to thin it down so that you can attain a neater finish on that side of things. So bear that in mind as well. Extra little steps that we go to as standard. So that's the rear deck kit as it's supplied. Now, obviously, at the same time, you should really be considering these battery box tabs, or straps as we call them, which are literally these pieces here. They come with the fixing put in them already. We oversize them so you can effectively lose a decent amount of it in the trimming process there. Gives you a bit of flexibility during the fitment process. And they are two pieces of leather joined together with reinforcement material glued in between them so that you don't get any issues with stretching over the course of time. And like I say, they have the fixings put in them as well. So we do recommend you get those at the same time so everything ties in. With leather, obviously you've got the options of grained or smooth as well. Now, we would suggest you go with whatever matches your seat areas on those sides of things, or whatever your personal preferences, I guess, as well. So yeah, that's the rear deck kit. Now let's move on to the spare wheel cover. If I can just pick up this book and bring it with me. So like I said, the spare wheel cover, or spare tyre cover, however you refer to it, was available in two options. You had the all vinyl version, which is, as it says on the tin, everything in vinyl. And then you had the vinyl and carpet version, which is what this one is here. So one side of it was vinyl, and then the surround, and the other side was carpet. It's obviously completely pre-stitched. You get the piping on it. In fact, the piping on this is even the thicker piping that is original for this particular part. So geeking out on you here, but seats commonly used a 3mm diameter plastic core piping, whereas this actually used a slightly thicker one, around sort of 4.5mm. And again, these are the levels that we go to with the details of originality on these sorts of things, so bear that in mind. Obviously this has been done black vinyl, black wool carpet. Now, we did have the discussion with the customer about whether we did this part in leather as well to tie in with the full leather interior, but we both agreed it was probably a bit overkill for actually the part and where it's situated, because ultimately the vinyl section is on the very bottom there, so it's never really seen with that element of things, and it's yeah, seemed a bit overkill. So we've done this one in the vinyl element there. But yeah, pre-stitched. You get the top stitching detail going down it there. It's obviously all piped. That's the sort of reinforcement area there, and it has this cutting opening here and up here, which is where the belt comes through, or the strap comes through, which holds the spare wheel in place. We can also offer that, just FYI. I should have probably included it in this video, but I forgot. Yeah, we can include that as well. Now, it's worth noting that as standard, that bit there and the bit on the inside here are always actually supplied, sorry, not this actual bit here, the bit that's on the inside here, which you can't really see, they're always in leather as original, these little bits here, just because of the strength element of things. That's the best way of doing it. So yeah, then it obviously has the tab on it as well, and then these retainers at the bottom there, which is how it's effectively put into the car. At the back here, it's trimmed in effectively there. So that's a spare wheel cover available in obviously the full vinyl version, or the combination of vinyl and carpet, and then carpet element of things. You've got 3 choices: nylon, Karvel or wool. Originally from the factory, it would have more than likely been the Karvel version if they used the carpet and vinyl version, which is this material here. Right, so let's move on to the boot trunk area. So boot trunk area are these pieces here. You had the main panel here, obviously sat over the thing here. It has a hinge to it there, which reveals the little sort of storage cubby box on the left side as you're stood at the back of the car looking in. You then had panels that went round the car. So you had the opening panel here, big U shape, and then you had the side panels left and right there. Now, originally, the kit for the main boot area was the Armourcord material here. And the panels themselves, let me just move around here to get the orientation correct. The panels themselves would have just been black grained millboard. So it's effectively a millboard material with a black facing on it, and it had a heavy graining on it to sort of replicate that of leather and vinyl effectively. So standardly from the factory, this piece here would have been the Armourcord material, and then 1, 2, 3 would have been black grained millboard material, pre-cut on our CNC, and then we creased them to allow the bend within the car as per original specification, going round effectively that back area there, as demonstrated one-handed. So yeah, that's how originally it left the factory. And this panel here was on plywood, which is obviously what we supplied on, with this bottom part here, because it has the flap on it, that gets trimmed in vinyl so that it all looks neat when you flap it up there. So that is how they left the factory, just replacing that with Armourcord. However, if you go for a upgraded option like this customer has here, we always do this section here in carpet. In this particular instance, it's wool. Then you have a choice on the panels there. We either trim them in carpet or we can trim them in vinyl, depending on what you want, to make it look nice and neat. So completely up to you on those sides of things, and we'll have that discussion with you at the time. This particular customer's gone for carpet on them, which looks really nice. To show you the detail of this boot trunk liner kit, obviously you had the fuel pipe coming in there, which is what this opening is here what the opening here is for. You do get some elements of binding on it, but then a very similar concept to what you had on those. You have a lot of material tabs that went round that are then used to trim onto the board. So you can see where it changes from the binding there into the material to trim it onto the back there. As you can see, it's then trimmed around here, all around there. You have that flap there, which obviously opens the other way, and the opening for the fuel pipe there. It does have an overhang there and whatnot for the release, bonnet release and whatnot. So that's that piece there. Like I say, the side panels here, they are the Millboard material trimmed in a material, either carpet or vinyl, depending on what you're going for. And then you had this piece here, which is the opening. Again, it's a Millboard material trimmed in carpet in this particular instance, but it does have the relevant pilot holes there, which obviously you trim out during the trimming process. There you had that little dial switch there, effectively for the opening on the hole there. So that is that element boot trunk liner kit. So like I say, normally they were just the black Armourcord and black Millboard panelling, but you can get a nice upgrade on them there. So yeah, looking forward to getting some photos of this when it's all fitted into the car, because it should look really nice as a interior. So yeah, I think I've covered my bases of everything there. So like I say, just a bit of a recap. You got the rear deck kit, along with the associated battery box lever tabs. You then have the spare wheel cover, and then you have the boot trunk liner kit. Originally from the factory, the rear deck kit and the boot trunk liner kit left the factory in Armourcord, which is that ribbed plastic material. We can offer it in carpet upgrades, either nylon, Karvel or wool. The spare wheel cover suddenly left the factory either in everything vinyl or a combination of vinyl and carpet. Again, the carpet options being nylon, Karvel or wool. Obviously, we can differentiate the colours as well. It's worth noting on that as well, the rear deck and spare wheel cover often left in the same rough colour scheme element as the main interior trim, whereas the boot trunk liner tended to leave in black, but we have certainly seen some examples where they did it in a colour as well. So all different options available, so do let us know what you're thinking and we can guide you on that side of things there. But yeah, like I say, do check out the other videos on my YouTube channel, including some at the end of this one. Be sure to tune in for our next video upload, and of course please do like, share and subscribe and share with other classic car enthusiasts out there, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.